word scientists. Remember when we started becoming word scientists, and I said that scientists look closely at things. Scientists notice tiny little details like shells or rocks or cracks on the ground. They look at the color of things, the shape and size of things, and they notice all of those tiny little details. But scientists also listen closely to the world around them. Word scientists listen closely to the sounds in the alphabet and the sounds in words. Last week, we wrote this story, and we learned to read the pictures and the words. We sounded out the words by listening for the first sound. Let's read this story again and listen for the first sound in the words. Mabel. The first sound is Hi. The first sound is Spot. The first sound is S. Good morning. Good morning. The first sound is G. Love. Let's catch the first sound in love. Ooh. The first sound is L. Mad. The first sound is Mad. Bye. The first sound is B. Bye. B. The first sound is B from the letter B. We were able to write all of the words in this story by listening for the first sound that the word makes. Now let's listen closely to the first sounds on our alphabet chart. Apple, A. B, ball, B. K, cat, K. D, dog, D. Egg, E. Fan, F. G, goat, G. Hat, H. Igloo, I is the first sound in igloo. Jump rope, J is the first sound in jump rope. Kite, K is the first sound in kite. Ladybug, L. Monkey, M. Nest, N. Octopus, A. Pig, P is the first sound in pig. Question, Qu is the first sound in question. Rainbow, R. Sun, S. Turtle, T. Umbrella, Volcano, V. Watermelon, W. Fox. Let's skip fox and go to yarn. Yarn, Y is the first sound. Zipper, Z is the first sound. Now we skipped fox. All of these other words start with the sound that the letter makes. A says A like apple. B says B like ball. C says K like cat. D says D like dog. But fox is the rule breaker. Fox starts with a F sound like F, like fan. But it ends with the X sound that X makes. Today I want to teach you that when you want to write a word, you need to listen. Not just for the first sound in the word, like our alphabet chart, but for all of the other sounds in the word that you hear. Sometimes people don't hear the last sound because they don't listen for it. It helps to really listen for the last sound so you can write the last sound. At the beginning of the year, I remember going into Miss Stratton's room and seeing labels everywhere, labels that told us what those things were. She was able to write the labels by listening for all of the sounds in the word and then writing them down on paper. I put labels up in my room at the beginning of the year, but I only put the first sound that I heard. Can you guys help me go back and finish those labels by listening for all of the sounds in the word? Let's do it. Let's remember to really hear the last sound in the word, like how the last sound in fox is X. Here's where I started the label for bored. We see the B for bored, but we need to listen for the rest of the sounds. Bored. Bored. I'm going to add the sounds that I hear. I listen for all of the sounds in the word bored, and this is how I thought to spell it. B-or-d. My door. I started my label and it says D, but we need to hear the rest of the sounds. D, or. The last sound I hear is R. Which letter makes the R sound? Oh, rainbow, Renee. So that means there's going to be an R at the end of door. Let's add it. Before, this label just said D. Now it says door. We listened closely to all of the sounds and wrote them down. This is my rug. I started my label by adding the first sound that I hear in rug. R. Now I need to listen for the rest of the sounds. Rug. Rug. Let me add the sounds that I hear. I listened for the sounds in rug, and I heard r and r like rainbow. I heard like umbrella, that's a U. And I heard g like gorilla, that's a G. Rug. This is my chair. So far it just says the first sound I heard, ch. Let's listen for the rest of the sounds. Ch, ar, chair. Which letter on our alphabet chart says apple? And then the last sound in chair is r, like rainbow. So we know we need to add r to chair. Let's add those sounds. I listened for all of the sounds in chair, and then I used the alphabet chart to help me to tell me which letter makes that sound. Now our label says chair. This is the fan. Right now our label only says f. Let's listen for the rest of the sounds in fan. I hear f, fan. I know that A says but which letter says n? Like nest. That's the letter N. So we're gonna add an. We're gonna add an A and an N. Before, our label only said f for the first sound in fan. Now it says an. Fan. There was a song that we sang a long time ago. You guys might not remember, but it goes like this. What's the first sound that you hear, that you hear, that you hear? What's the first sound that you hear in Mabel, Mabel, Mabel? Is the first sound that you hear, that you hear? Is the first sound that you hear in Mabel, Mabel, Mabel? That's our first sound song, but I have a new song today. It's called our last sound song. It's kind of the same, but we listen for the last sound instead of the first sound. What's the last sound that you hear, that you hear, that you hear? What's the last sound that you hear in Mabel, Mabel, Mabel? L is the last sound that you hear, that you hear. L is the last sound that you hear in Mabel, Mabel, Mabel. We know that listening to the first sound in a word is super important. It helps us spell. But listening for the last sound in the word is super important too. It also helps us spell. So let's look at some pictures and think about the first sound and the last sound. This is a picture of a van. What's the first sound in van? Volcano. Van. That's the letter V. What's the last sound that you hear in van? Van. Van. Nest. That's the letter N. Van. So the last sound in van is N. Let's listen for the first sound in pig. P. Pig. The first sound is P, like the letter P. What's the last sound in pig? Pig. Pig. The last sound is G, like goat. That's the letter G. Let's try another one. What's the first sound that you hear in heart? Heart. But the first sound is like hat. That's the letter H. What's the last sound that you hear in heart? Heart. Like turtle. That's the letter T. So the first sound is like H, and the last sound is T, like T. Let's try another one. What's the first sound that you hear in mop? Mop. Is the first sound that I hear in mop. Monkey. That's the letter M. What's the last sound that you hear in mop? Mop. P. is the last sound that I hear. Like pig, that's the letter P. Let's try another one. What's the first sound that you hear in pear? P is the first sound I hear. Like pig, that's a P. What's the last sound that you hear in pear? Pear. R is the last sound that I hear. Like rainbow, that's an R. Let's try one more. What's the first sound that you hear in moon? Is the first sound that you hear. Monkey, that's the letter M. What's the last sound that you hear in moon? Moon. N is the last sound that I hear. Like nest, that's the letter N. It's time for Fast Phonics. This is the turtle card. The sound is T. The T sound is spelled with the letter T. Say it with me, T. That's the sound at the beginning of the word turtle. T, turtle. The T sound is spelled with the letter T. What's the name of the letter? T. What's the sound? T, like in turtle, like at the beginning of T, turtle. I'm going to write an uppercase and lowercase t because that's the letter that makes the T sound like in turtle. Uppercase T is tall. We start at the top, we go all the way down. And then we go across. That's an uppercase T. Lowercase t is also tall. Look, it goes all the way to the top. We go down and then across through it. Uppercase T goes across on top. Lowercase t goes across through it. The letter is T. The sound is T. Let's try stretching out the sounds in words that start with the T sound like in turtle. This is the letter T. It says T like turtle. This is the letter A. It says A like apple. This is the letter P. It says P like pig. Let's say the sounds. T, A, P. Now let's say them together slowly. Tap. Now let's say the word. Tap. This is the word tap. Let's stretch another word. This is the letter T. It says T like turtle. This is the letter O. It says ah like octopus. This is the letter P. It says P like pig. Let's say the sounds. T, A, P. Now let's say them together slowly. Top. Now let's say the word we hear. Top. This is the word top. Let's try another T word. This is the letter T. It says T like turtle. This is the letter I. It says I like igloo. This is the letter P. It says P like pig. Let's say the sounds. T, I, P. Now let's blend the sounds together slowly. Tip. Now let's say the word we hear. Tip. This is the word like. Let's read it, spell it, and write it. First, let's read the word like together. Like. Like. We read it. Now let's spell it. L-I-K-E. Like. Let's do it one more time. L-I-K-E. Like. Now let's write the word like. It starts with a tall L. L. And then a small I. I. And then a tall K. K. And then a small E. Like. Like is the word you use when you feel good about something. We like pizza. I like the tent. Let's read a story with our new word like in it. This story is called We Like Tam. Here's Tam. Tam can see Pam. Tam can see Sam. Sam can tap the bell. Tam can tap the bell. We like Tam. Today we learned that scientists don't just look closely at things, they listen closely too. Word scientists don't just hear the first sound in a word, like the T in turtle. Word scientists hear all of the sounds. What sound do you hear at the end of turtle? L is the last sound, like ladybug. Bye, phonics friends.